Alrighty, welcome back in. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network. The biggest story of the day is what transpired last night to conclude week one of the 2025 NFL season. What a comeback by Kevin O'Connell, J.J. McCarthy, and the Minnesota Vikings. And, well, the Bears, I guess, are once again the Bears, with now Ben Johnson as their head coach and Caleb Williams still their quarterback. A man that was on the sidelines last night does a great job for the Vikings radio network, and he's a former Minnesota Vikings linebacker. He, of course, is Ben Leber. Ben, always great to have you on. How you been?
Well, I'm doing great now, Zach. I mean, thanks for having me on. I mean, last night was a roller coaster, as you know. That not much good things happened in the first three quarters offensively, and then obviously the dramatic ending. So all is well with me and everybody, all the Vikings fans.
I felt like I was on an island this offseason, and I know it's only one game, but I ended up picking the Vikings to make the Super Bowl before they would lose to the Kansas City Chiefs. And people would say, how could you believe in the Vikings? How could you believe in J.J. McCarthy? And I said, well, I know they have a great defense led by Brian Flores. Offensively, they have so many weapons. And I saw Sam Darnold look great last year with Kevin O'Connell. So I think when they asked J.J. McCarthy, who is a proven winner, to manage the game and maybe play with bumpers, or even do a little bit more, that he will be effective. So what I saw last night, don't get me wrong, when it's going south and he's throwing the pick six, it's looking ugly. But JJ once again last night showed that he overcomes adversity and the guy just simply knows how to win.
Yeah, and I think when you add it all up, and we all know that this is going to be a long season. I didn't really expect him to come out really in the first game, and I still have the expectation that in the first few games leading up to the bye week, it may look a little cloudy. There may be some shaky moments. It may not be totally in sync. Timing may be off. You have to add in. We still don't have our left tackle. Christian Darrisaw still yet to come back. We have three other guys on the starting offensive line that are new, including Donovan Jackson, the rookie at left guard. That sounds like he played pretty amazing last night. I have not watched the film back. But there's still a lot of chemistry and cohesion that has to take place, even on the offensive line. And you saw a little bit of that last night where, maybe it was a little bit on JJ where he wasn't getting through his progressions. He was at the top of his drop and still sort of scanning, looking to anticipate something. And then the rush got to him and affected some of his scrambling ability and affected some of his throws. So things weren't really in sync, because a lot of new moving parts going on. And you throw in the addition of Adam Thielen, who just comes back, although he kind of knows the offense, but it's going to take a while to really get involved in totality. And then once Jordan Addison comes back, then you kind of like throw in another new wrinkle. So I just kind of give myself, 5 games to really look at where he's at, where the offense is at. But when you mention the defense, I mean, that's going to be the calling card, I think, for this team throughout the whole season.
And they were hitting hard last night. Like, that was a vicious, fierce performance by that defense once they finally got going in that game after the first drive.
Well, yeah, and then you got freaking Caleb Williams, he's like a magician out there. I'm like, this guy, did he soak himself in Crisco? What did he do? I mean, it's so frustrating for a defensive player to work so hard because they're rebuilding their offensive line as well. They have a lot of talented guys up front, and our guys were working so hard just to get to Caleb, and then he would just slip through their fingers. And time and time again, his elusiveness, his athleticism, just showcased. And I was watching that like frustrated for them. So, listen, they went out and made plays as well offensively for the Bears. But you look at what our guys can do. I mean, that's the whole reason why we brought in Javon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen, was those moments right there to get an interior pass rush. We knew that we had it on the edges, but to get a little bit more dynamic on the inside, you have some best laid plans, but until you actually see it, you don't really know what you have. And last night, thankfully, Hargrave showed out. Jonathan Allen showed out. Gank almost had another pick six. Grenard is such a beast in both the run and the pass. And then Dallas Turner putting his hand on the ground playing 5 technique. He was outstanding, especially against the run as well. So very, very formidable defensive front. And again, that's going to be what we talk about, I think, as the season goes along.
Ben Leber here with us. The day after J.J. McCarthy's comeback, what stands out to you the most about what the youngster was able to do in his first career start?
We all expected him to play well when things are going well, but you always wonder with every player, especially at quarterback, like how do they handle adversity? How do they handle when they're the ones that are making the catastrophic mistake, like he did last night with the pick six? How does he bounce back from that? And I think he passed the test. And I would even say, Zach, from the very beginning, I was very impressed with just his command of the huddle and his command at the line of scrimmage. Here's a young guy in his first start, Monday Night Football, prime time in his hometown. He's got, I don't know, 100 people of family and friends there watching the game. The whole world is watching. People like you talking about how the Vikings could end up in the Super Bowl. I mean, there's a lot of pressure if you think about it. And from the very first start, he gets under center. He's checking defense. He's scanning the field. He's calling out some sort of audible to the offensive line, turning around, talking to the running back. Like he is taking control. And there was complete ownership from the first snap. And that happened throughout the rest of the game. And then, as everybody knows now, the Aaron Jones story that he told after the game about walking in the huddle in the fourth quarter, and JJ sort of looks around and says, "Is there any other place you guys would rather be?" And he's like, "Man, this kid gets it. We had every right to kind of feel down in the dumps, and this guy, just with his smile and that statement and that question, just brought everybody back to center, and they just ripped off 3 straight touchdowns."
I also thought this was pretty cool after the game, too, in the locker room, where Kevin O'Connell reminded everyone, and I don't think he was doing it to the locker room, I think it was for us, that these players voted J.J. McCarthy as a captain, and that trust is everything with the quarterback and those teammates, and it's clear that they trust and they believe in their quarterback.
Yeah, 100%. You know the game well enough that there are some democratically voted captains, and there are some that just sort of get anointed a captain because of their status and maybe aren't the best leaders. And I will tell you right now that from the second he was drafted, I remember talking to people a couple of weeks after he first stepped foot in the building when he got drafted last spring, and everybody's like, "Holy cow! Like, we can't believe this kid just turned 21 years old in January. Like, so mature." There's a genuineness of like him wanting to shake your hand, get to know who you are, get to know your name. He just like owned that building. Like he walked in thinking like this is going to be my place for the next decade at least. And everybody was so impressed by him from day one, and they continue to be impressed by the young man. And so, yeah, for him to put in that C, that was 100% earned, and it was deserved. And I love the fact that KOC kind of reiterated that last night in the locker room.
Talking to Ben Leber right now, as we go to the other side, I will say, I thought it was refreshing to see Ben Johnson get some humble pie because, like, I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm not a Bears fan. I'm not a Vikings fan, but it annoyed me this offseason when he gets the job. He takes the shot at Matt LaFleur, and then he talks about the tush push, and he's like, "Oh, it's not an explosive play." And then in his first game as an NFL head coach, he didn't know how to manage his timeouts correctly. He didn't know what to do on that last kickoff. And then also, you blow a double-digit lead at home. I think it's a good little learning lesson. Ben, I know you're confident, but maybe you accomplish something as a head coach first because it's different as a good offensive coordinator compared to a good head coach.
Well, I will defend him in this. He did come out publicly and say that he told the kicker to kick it out of the end zone.
Sure.
So, when you get the assurance from the kicker, they're like, "Yeah, I can do that. I can boom it out of the end zone." I mean, all of these kickers in the league have strong enough legs to put it right through the upright. So that was a complete mishit. That wasn't a miscalculation and misjudgment as a head coach. So I will give him that. Everything else, I'm not going to defend.
He could have kicked it out of bounds, though. It puts it right on the 40, He could have done that.
Yeah, he could have done that. But, when you look at your kicker all through practice and you're like, yeah, these guys can just boom it out of the end zone all the time. It's trickier now to kind of put it right in the landing zone. Sometimes you can understand those miss hits. But when these guys just want to boom it, they can kick it right through the upright. So, I have a lot of respect for what he's able to do. I think obviously the challenge for him is going to be, they don't have a Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't think they quite have the athletic offensive line that the Lions had, ability to get up to the second level so quickly. I mean, they were unbelievable at doing all that with all the movements up front. I still think he's great creativity with his creativity. I think it's just going to take some time to get to know his players and what his players can do best. And maybe they're not the most dynamic team right now. I reassure you that he's a great coach, and I know that he's going to have something for us the next time we play the Bears.
I know you praised how elusive he was, and that's something that stood out with Caleb Williams. But if you were a linebacker going up against Caleb Williams, what would your view be of him as a quarterback now with what you saw last night and what you saw going back to last season?
You know, I would say if I'm evaluating him as just a true quarterback, I just don't think that he's there yet. I mean, we're so conditioned to feel to like understand what a true quarterback is and like quarterback play is. To me, he's still just a great athlete that happens to play quarterback. Can he do some really special things? I mean, that sideline throw early in the game where he broke out to the right. I mean, not many people can be off platform and put that much torque on a football with the accuracy that he did. So he's very special when it comes to his physical traits. I do think that he does struggle when it comes to just the progression of the offense, understanding, anticipating certain routes against certain coverages. You can confuse him. And then you saw, how inconsistent he was with his accuracy. I mean, late in the game when they had to make some throws, he was throwing it 10 yards out of bounds. And it's like, whoa. If I'm a Bears fan, I'm like, what do we have in this guy? He can make some plays and he can be dynamic. Like, didn't we just let a guy like Justin Fields go where it was kind of the same thing? So, I think I would still be in flux. And as a linebacker, going against him, I think I'd be more concerned just by his scrambling ability and then picking up scramble coverage than I would be about like, oh my gosh, I have to get to this spot because he's going to manipulate me with my eyes like an Aaron Rodgers would when I had to play against him, or Brett Favre, where they would intentionally bait us with their eyes and their body movements, knowing that I'm going to throw to my right, but I'm going to let these linebackers kind of shuffle over here, and then I'm just going to dink it over here. Like, he's not there yet. I'm not so sure he can get there, but that's not the type of quarterback he is.
Let me ask you this, wrap it up with Ben Leber, because you mentioned Justin Fields. We know the Vikings, right? It's going to be a story all throughout the year. JJ McCarthy and Sam Darnold. Things didn't go well for Sam in his debut with the Seahawks, and Justin Fields played well, really well, but they ultimately lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. How do you think we're talking about Justin Fields and Sam Darnold at the end of the season?
I think they're both going to kind of figure it out. I've always had a lot of respect for Justin Fields. I think for him it's a Baker Mayfield situation where maybe rightfully so a little raw coming out of college, maybe too high of expectation for him wanting to be this pure quarterback. He definitely is more of a passing quarterback than he is a scrambling quarterback. But I think if he finds the right system, I think he can thrive. I think he's got the right mentality. I think he's got the right traits. I really hope that he can have sort of a Baker Mayfield trajectory. What I saw with Sam Darnold last year, no doubt in my mind that he's going to be successful in Seattle. The guy just understands football. He's got a great arm. As long as he can trust that offensive line and he can get some time to dissect, I think he's going to be great.
How far are you willing to go, by the way, Ben Leber, on Kevin O'Connell? Like Andy Reid, right? Sean McVay. I even got to throw Sirianni after winning the Super Bowl. I think those are the three best coaches in the NFL. I know O'Connell just won Coach of the Year, but what this guy's been able to do so far in Minnesota, it's really damn impressive.
Yeah, it really is. I know everybody talks about him being like the quarterback whisperer, which rightfully so, he's earned that. But I mean, he's so much more than that. I mean, the way he's able to communicate and build a culture on both the offensive side and the defensive side, he allowing B Flow to kind of instill his personality on that defense, but all the while keeping it within the same umbrella and the same culture of the team. I think that kind of gets overshadowed by this whole like, oh, he's just a quarterback whisperer. No, yeah, he's a great offensive mind. He knows how to get these guys playing on offense. But what he's been able to do to build the chemistry of this team and play with this tenacity on defense and on offense, all the while kind of keeping this like, aw shucks, very approachable, personable, treating guys like men without having to degrade them. I mean, it's a new wave of coaching, so to speak, but also there's old school elements to it. And I think it's so unique. And I don't know if anybody can really replicate that right now. So he's kind of one of one in that regard.
Last thing I'll ask you, Ben Leber, you look at this team, it's one game for 80% of the game. People weren't happy, but they showed an incredible amount of adversity and resolve in what they were able to do. When you look at this Vikings team, what do you think they could be this year? Because that's been a big question mark throughout this entire offseason.
I'm with you. I think when you look at all the individual pieces, this should be a playoff team. And we all know that. I mean, every team wants to go to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. That's always the goal. But I think, for this team, it's about a matter of just building something special to get in the playoffs, and then whatever happens there, you just take it one game at a time. I think they have all the ingredients, they have the coaching, they have the players. As long as the quarterback play doesn't get to a point where he's throwing games away, and they're solid in the red zone, man, who knows? I mean, I don't want to be one of those like Vikings fans that wear everything with purple glasses, and there's always championship mindset and all this other stuff, and just kind of like not look at things logically. I mean, I think logically we can get there. It's going to be a tough road, but I think there is something very special brewing in that locker room.
Good perspective. He's Ben Leber. Ben, appreciate you doing this the day after the game. Thanks so much. Good to catch up.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, one more.
Yes. What?
I hate to do this to you. I had high expectations for Kansas State this year.
Oh,
What the heck is going on?
I don't
They start
know.
up the season with the loss, then they almost lost in week 2, and then they just lost to Army. I am lost for words with this one. Sorry to do that to you. Usually I like to end you on a good note, but I'm ending you on a bad note.
And I didn't watch the North Dakota game at all. So I was sweating that one out just watching my little sports app, watching the scores. I watched the Iowa State game and I'm like, okay, fine. Tough environment. Campbell's always got a great team in Iowa State. So like that one, I'm like, fine. This thing with Army last week, I mean, we did so well defensively to stop the run. We were aggressive. You could tell that we were the better team, which you should be the better team. Avery Johnson actually had a couple great throws that we just didn't come down with. It was always about whether or not Avery can become this dynamic passer. We know that he can run. I mean, shoot, he's like the fastest guy in the field of all times. But can he become the passer when we need him to be the passer? And it seems like he's making those improvements. It's just we got to catch the frickin' ball. So like, I don't know, Zach, man. I'm still always faithful and positive, but it's going to be a tricky road for them now with 2 early losses.
Well, at least you got a Vikings win. That's all I'll
That's
say.
true.
That's how we'll
That's
make a
true.
bad situation and to turn garbage into gold. Ben, you're the best. Appreciate it. Thank you.